ridiculously bare bones. So,
That's okay.
all right,
It's all
cool.
right.
Very good. As long as we all know that.
For those of you,
All
for
right.
those of you guys
So,
watching on YouTube, today Jake is going to be talking to us about incorporating our things in our daily lives into video game design.
all right. So, real experiences, real design. Um, so I find that when designing games, that games are complicated systems, but simply just systems that exist in the real world that we then take and create into virtual experiences where other people can enjoy and experience them. So a lot of the inspiration that, or almost all the inspiration that we take from games comes from things that we see around us and experiences that we have. And the more experiences I think that we have in real life are the more dynamic experiences that we can take and put into a game. So here's what I mean by kind of experiences, like different things, maybe not as crazy as flying out to somewhere new or important or special, maybe just taking a walk and noticing different things about these areas of life. Anything that you can see, you can experience, you can touch, can be then used as fuel for your fire of design. So in this picture right here, we can see a lot of different things. The sunbeams coming through the trees, right? In games, we have that as volumetric design. And as you see that, you can sort of start to see how maybe that would be implemented in art, right? Some of these leaves are really, really lighter than other colored textures. Um, Other areas of the ground are all, you know, different colors. I'm sorry, I'm kind of nervous, but I'll get over it. What I've noticed specifically about, looking outside at terrain is that everything is about approximately three different colors, right? And this I found out from the experience of just looking at things really, really deeply and sharply. So down here, if you see every single piece of every rock, every tree has basically three different tones to them. So we have this light green over here, we have this medium green, and we have this dark green. And over here on these kind of this dirt, we have a lighter kind of dirt, medium, and then dark. And then on top of that, we have a little bit of a light sheen or a dark sheen on that. And that's pretty much the basic color components that make up most of what we see. Now, I didn't necessarily look anything up to do that. I didn't go to a specific website and find that out in any way like that. No. Instead, I just started looking around at nature and looking around at, cement, rocks, and started to find out, hey, these things can be used in kind of texture design because at the point that I was at right there, it was about, looking at textures and stuff. Yeah. So this is blank, but pretty much physical different experiences that you have. So, a class that you might take, um, a moment in your life that was more kind of physically built. Like if you jumped off of a huge rock and into water, like what did that feel like? How did the air move around you when you jumped? What were the feelings that were going through your body? How did your toes hit the water and break through? And just as you plunge down into the water, if you've had that experience before, even something as simple as going up to get cereal. How is your weight transferring from your feet? How is the air moving around yourself as you just cross your house? These are all things that you can take into consideration when designing and building your games. I don't think the perfect first person camera has ever been developed. And I think that's because there's a lot of things that we can't see. Instead of trying to focus on the things we can see, how about the limitations of the things we can't see? Like, say, if you wear glasses, there's a lot of your vision that's obstructed by glasses. So in a first person camera, we should be focusing on the things that we more of can't see and the limitations of our sight versus, the typical, here's a huge block of screen that you can immediately see with this dot in the center. It makes way more immersive experiences if you start looking at the reality of what things are. This comes up in painting, this comes up in sculpture, how to look at things realistically in order to create and refine your art. And this kind of can extend into really anything. Just notice these different things and how movement, how things touch and feel, like if they feel hot or cold, but like go deeper, like how and exactly how does it feel hot or cold? Is it a stinging sensation? Is it kind of gentle and like a slow burn kind of a thing? Sometimes I've noticed that if you jump into a really, really hot bath or something, it feels cold for a second, you know? And if sometimes my mind will play tricks on me, if, I turn on a faucet, it's really cold, I think it's hot. And these are just some sort of ideas. And I'm not sure exactly how you would transfer that into game design, but that's the point of this, is to try to take those intellectual risks and to see what design choices that we can make by observing the things around us and experiencing things in real life. This one's huge. Emotional experiences. All of writing is based on emotion. All of art is based on emotion. No one is going to want to look at your stuff. No one is going to want to, play your game, read your book, look at a painting, sketches, anything, unless emotion is fueled into it, because we as people are emotional creatures. So what you want to do, and this is probably the biggest point of this whole presentation, is look into your past emotional experiences, those times that you were made fun of, those times where you succeeded. If you journal and you write things down a lot, that's a great resource, because you can go back into the exact moment and step back into your shoes of those times that you were, depressed, or the times that you were excited. I have many different journal entries from many different times in my life where I see those specific instances of my life where I was either depressed, or I was excited or interested or intrigued by different things. Then you take that and you use that emotionally in order to make those experiences. Things in games like The Longing are completely emotional. Colors, effects, all dependent, all inspired by what you feel and how you feel about it as a game designer. And as a game designer with your projects, if you're not excited by building your projects, they're never going to come to light. So you have to find something that is exciting about your project to make. And how you do that is by infusing your own emotional experiences into these things. And the deeper you go, is the better that the artwork is going to be. A writer once said, because I come from a writing background, I've written a book before, so it's on Amazon. I'm not going to start plugging things in here, but it's just that a writer said that, I think it was Ernest Hemingway, said the easiest way to write, what writing is simply sitting at a typewriter and bleeding. And it's very true. It's because, and that's how I feel like we as designers should be. Once you are done with your design game, everything should be out on the screen, on the page. All of yourself, your essence should be like completely brought to light. And people will see that. They will see the effort that you put forth. If, it's put forth and you do it. You take those sad moments and then you can infuse it into a character. Why is this character, upset? Oh, he's upset because, his mom is, yelling at him for some reason. Great. No one cares unless that gets a little bit more realistic. And that gets more realistic because you have to connect with that person. How do you connect with that person? You connect it to yourself. I can read my own book that I wrote, and I can exactly chart out the different parts in my life at which I was feeling at when. When you do a good job with writing or with designing, other people can sort of see inside of your soul. And it's scary, but that's the vulnerability that makes us artists and what makes us good at what we do and connects us to our audience. I think that's really important. So the next thing is skills. I have a couple different kind of pictures here, but skills are very important. And what I mean by skills are literally anything you can learn and master and achieve. Arts too. So something like martial arts, what I do, something like ballet or drawing or, going hiking. These kind of pictures that I took quickly and represented here. But that's anything. If you're a programmer and you have programming skill, that's great. But how can you apply that in a design sense? What are the lessons that you learned? A monk said that what are you more in regards to skill and design? And I'm going to take this quote and I hope everyone can try to apply this to what I mean. Is that a monk said, are you more interested in learning or at getting the achievement of completing something, getting a black belt, becoming a professional dancer, becoming a professional artist, climbing that mountain? Or are you more interested in the lessons that you learned while getting there? The lessons that you learn while getting there are what you're gonna are going to help you when you are a designer. The dedication. I'm creating a game, a little indie game right now for class about really the foundational principles of work ethic and challenge of martial arts culture, and putting that in sort of a fighting / rhythm game. And that's just all based on my experience of what I went through as I was learning martial arts. And it's a different kind of experience. Because I learned this skill, I was able to make that specific niche and that specific idea of that game that's going to be created. If, say, you're a programmer, what skills did you have to learn to program? Dedication, staying up late, focusing on different routes in order to accomplish the same thing that other people would have. I know programmers that would take super long roundabout ways and other programmers that have very elegant kind of decision making that accomplishes the same thing. You could make a whole game about that, right? That could be the start of a whole idea. How to execute the same thing just in a more graceful way. You get more points for executing the same objective in a faster and smoother way. And that can be through anything. It can be through a visual kind of representation, like an art game, or it can be, a Metroidvania style game, or it can be like a first person shooter or a puzzle game or anything. But your base idea, your base core design concept comes from the experiences you took while you were learning to make the skill. So the end result isn't the most important thing. The most important thing is what you learned when you were going through that. If you love to draw, what challenges did you go through in order to get maybe you're kind of short on cash. What were the challenges, again, kind of emotional on the emotional side too, to get that material in order to do what you love? What did you have to sacrifice in order to get and use this material? Those are the things that people are interested in games. We have enough games where we blow things up. That time is over. We have to get more competitive as kind of a budding Gen Z people. Our generation is extremely competitive. We're extremely diverse, and we're especially in digital media and design, in a culture that is extremely competitive. The only thing that can't be trademarked at this point are your ideas, but only for a short period of time. Anything else can be copied. So the amount of stuff, the amount of creativity that you as an artist and a designer needs to create, that's going to be your survival, essentially, in the business sector and in the creative sector of digital media, and in all digital media, really. We live in probably the most competitive times that exist. And knowing and learning, this is my ... but it's supposed to be like learning more skills. Going out to learn more skills is really important too, for the same reason. But right now, you can look back on skills that you already have. And if you don't think that you have skills, you do. You most definitely do. If you are an alive person that's living, you definitely have skills that you have learned. But you can always know more and seek out something different, seek out something interesting that you haven't done before. Like anything crazy. Like I've done everything from archery to diving and like scuba diving. And, I haven't scuba dived and I probably won't again. But I remember what it was like to put on a BCD and put in a snorkels. And I remember what it was like to breathe through that regulator and sometimes doubt because the regulator wasn't working for a second. That feeling of panic, I can then take and put into a game, maybe a horror game, maybe not. It's all these experiences that drive you and these skills that drive you as a designer, make interesting experiences that people haven't experienced before. And your talents. Skill is different than talent. Talent is something you're kind of born with. It's something that you just have natural inklings to do. Skills are things that you can learn. You can be really bad at something and really not good naturally at something and still learn that skill and still understand a lot of good things about it. But your talents are really important too. It's what you're naturally inclined to do, what you're made to do. And that's very important to follow as well. What you're naturally good at is something you should look into and follow in order to learn more of that stuff and learn more of what to do as you grow as designers. Enjoy life. That's a huge thing. Don't just be chasing after skills and things. You experiencing life is one of the most beautiful kind of aspects of game design. Because essentially what gaming is making a simulated world. That's all it is. It's one of the most difficult things to do. I think, honestly, the most difficult digital media platform that exists. The more that I research, the more that I study at UConn, the more that I see that games are where it's going. Either where it's games or simulations, but I don't see a difference really. And through us, we have the keys to the future to shape what people are going to see in what ways and in what lights. As we turn to VR, the line between reality and gaming is going to be blurred sooner or later. And if we start to look at life like it's a game and start to realize and going to different kind of experiences like a drive-in movie right here, that's an interesting experience. Like before, COVID hit, this was kind of a thing to do, but it was kind of antiquated. There was no kind of reason to do it. It's just kind of a fun idea. And then this trend started picking up again because of COVID, and this was safe. Like, what does that say? How can we introduce that? And don't think that any idea is useless completely. There's always a shred of something useful that you can input into your design and into what you can create as a designer. Just anything from just waking up in the morning. What do you experience? What do you feel? What do you see? Are you gonna wake up in the morning and think that everything is kind of bad and it's just like everything is kind of a repetitive motion? Or are you going to start to notice things, notice different things? How, just again, anything, how your weight transfers, how your blankets feel, because all of that is going to go into the game. All of that is going to go into the game. Experiencing life with friends, going out, doing crazy, spontaneous things will all impact your creations that you make. Really? That's it? No, that's not it. I've got more. It's just not on the thing. So then my next point here is systems. right? We see systems everywhere. School systems. A system is anything created by a support kind of matrix built by anybody. And we have a lot of different systems we see in life. A lot of them are by people. Culture is a great example of these sort of systems. The school system, another great example of what it is. How do people decide who is what? How do you what is popular? What is unpopular? How does that work? When you figure that out, you can start implementing that in games, believe it or not. You know, why is this group better than this group? That starts to bring forth questions in which answers are the inspiration to what you will create as a designer. It's all about questions and answers. You know, you look at nature and how the whole of everything just collides together. You know, rain creates grass that moves on. The whole Simba kind of analogy. But it's that kind of idea is true. Everything connects to each other and influences everything else. When you turn up any or change anything in a game, the rest of the game will be affected by it. Balancing is an incredibly hard thing to do because if you change, say, a weapon and it does a little bit more damage, this assault rifle does a little bit more damage, what does it do to the rest of the game? Well, people are going to want to use more assault rifles, which are going to make more precision rifles less useful. Less useful, really, or just less used by the community? Well, then you have to investigate that. And then if you make, then you decide to make, you know, those precision rifles more powerful because the assault rifles aren't more powerful or are more powerful, then you just increase the level of power. And now your game is getting, your times to kill in the game are getting shorter. Everything in every kind of system, in the Sims to anything else. If your characters are getting mad too quick, that's going to frustrate the player. And if it frustrates the player, then they're not going to play the game anymore. And if you change something as simple as the timing it takes for a sim to get to the toilet, if it's too short, again, the sim gets upset, the player gets upset, and the player stops playing the game. Real life experiences all funnel into this kind of idea. Like The Sims is just a role play of what real life kind of is. Of course, it's not about drowning people and sending people to their deaths constantly. But people started games because of what they've had already experienced in life and the mechanisms, but mechanisms are kind of in the same vein as that. But the last kind of thing I have to say, and I know this was kind of shorter, but otherwise I'd kind of be repeating myself, is that games are only going to be as good as what you believe in them. How much of yourself do you throw into these games? How much experience do you take out of life? And it's an infinite amount. You know, just hearing this talk is one of them. One of the experiences you can take. You can take some of the information and the previous talk as well. Take what information you can use. Throw out the stuff that you can't or don't want to use. It's all honestly just an experience for you to create dynamic situations in which games are created. The more I say game, the more I say that word as my digital media and technology or whatever degree goes on, is the more it doesn't mean, you know, just blasting a bunch of stuff into pieces. It's more of creating and generating real experiences with people. And how do you generate real experiences? But by looking at real experiences in order to emulate that is what I think it is. So I think with that, I'm kind of finished.
Okay, thank you very much, Jake. That was really, really insightful. It like a couple people messaged me and were like, "Wow, this is almost like therapy." It was just really, it's just really well thought out. Thank you for giving a talk. That was really good.
Thank you.
Yeah, so I'm gonna open the floor to questions in just a sec here, but I am gonna end the recording for YouTube. So thank you everyone for watching. Yeah, no, I know a few people did have to bounce, but we meet every Friday from 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. And I'll put a Discord link invite somewhere, maybe in the description or on the channel. But thank you very much, everybody, for watching.